Hello, 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 hello. Spirit world, whiskey world, welcome, welcome. It is Monday, and you are on Monday Sucks. If you are anybody that just get to do something on Mondays or have to solve a problem on Monday, you know Mondays suck. But we make it better here as we talk about whiskey, we talk about spirits from around the world. If you hear and if you're new, put in the comments, say hello, say what's up. Would love to hear from you. I'm Jack Bigadoo, also known as the Hood Sommelier. I talk, teach about spirit from around the world. Um, Today, we are starting a little early. Our guests need to actually get to something else. So we want to make sure that we start quite early so we can get him to where he needs to be. But we'll love your participation. Share, like, bring people in. We'll make sure to actually start a conversation. And maybe you can actually ask question to our guest if you have a little bit of time. Our guest today is Rob. And I don't want to call his first and last name. Just know he's Rob. Cool guy, simple guy, extensive resume. But the reason why he came here is because I was skeptical about the spirit he brought out. I'm like, who's this guy? Makes my favorite color, as you can see, is black and white on my favorite color. He makes that spirit, he bring it out there. There's a lot of gimmicky things that I heard about it, and I say, you know what? I'm not gonna judge this book by its cover. I want Rob himself to come here and talk to us about the spirits, about his background, about his collab, and we can taste the whiskey and you can see my honest opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Mr. Dietrich, if I actually said it right.
You did. Yeah, you got it, man.
Rob, welcome to the show. Welcome to Monday Sup. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for chatting with me.
It's my pleasure.
No, the pleasure is definitely mine. Thanks for making time in your schedule. Let's jump right into it.
Sure.
Who are you? I heard your name everywhere.
I think I'm still working on that. I'm still trying to figuring out who I am.
Tell us a little bit about your background, and how you came into the whiskey industry.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have kind of a varied background. I'm a Colorado native. Well, I mean, technically, we moved here when I was 6 months old, and I was raised in Colorado, so I still feel like I'm a Colorado native. And I spent some time in the military. I was in the Army for about 3 years with the 10th Mountain Division. Did some combat tours there, and then when I got out, I just kind of wandered. I got into the music business. I was in the music industry because I have such a passion for music and live music and what kind of connection music brings in all walks of life and all aspects. And I really thought that was going to be my career for the rest of my life. Was going to be
become a musician.
Yeah. Well, I was better at managing festivals and events and shows and rigging and stage management and lighting and that sort of thing. But I was always playing music on the side. That was always a passion. And I really felt like I'd found a career that really meant something to me. And then I discovered the craft of making whiskey, and that was a game changer. I literally left an industry that I loved to make something that I love just as much, and that was making whiskey. So I started at Stranahan's Colorado Whiskey in
Shout
Denver.
Out to Stranahan.
Yeah, Stranahan. So I was there, started there in 2006. Started out on the bottling line. We always had the volunteer bottling lines and a volunteer bottling party. And I started as the night shift distiller from 1 a.m. to 9 a.m. I did that for about 4 years straight, which, by the way, that is just a weird world to live in. If anybody out there that's ever done the night shift or worked the night shift, you are kind of a walking zombie during the day because you're passing ships with with your relationships and but it was great. I knew I was starting out in something that I really believe in and was passionate about. So I was there for 13 years, and then now, as a matter of fact, today, May 1st, is my four year anniversary at Blackened American Whiskey. So I've
Wow.
been here exactly 4.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So you found whiskey, you start working at Stranahan, you start at a night shift, you start making whiskey, obviously. And how you say you did 13 years at Stranahan?
Yes. Yeah.
So from 2006 to
Just
19.
just shy of 13 years. It was 12
So
years and change.
you do that. How do you end up from distilling to now having a brand of it all on your own?
Well, so Blackened Whiskey it's owned by the band Metallica, and some of us that are part of the production of it. And it was really something that the band understood that there's another way to connect to their fans, for one, but they didn't want to just go to a large distillery and say, make a Metallica brand, we'll slap a Metallica label on it, and you guys just ran it. They understood the importance of it being authentic, of being made by passionate, knowledgeable people. And originally they had reached out to the legendary late Dave Pickerel, who obviously was
May he rest in peace.
without a doubt, to Dave, indeed. And then they wanted to create and work with him to create a great whiskey. And initially that's what they did. He came up with a recipe. Unfortunately, he did pass away 3 months after the brand started, after they launched the brand. And I was at the event where David passed away. It was at Whiskey Fest in San Francisco. And again, we're a small community, very, very tight knit, very close. And it is, it was very difficult for all of us to hear the passing of our good friend. And then about a month later, I spoke to their director of sales and, offered my condolences at another Whiskey Fest. And he said, look, I know it may seem sudden, but we need someone who knows what they're doing. We need somebody who's passionate. He goes, you got your rock and roll background in the music industry. And we love what you're doing at Stranahan's. Would you be interested in making whiskey with Blackened? And I said, absolutely. I would. For one, I'm a big Metallica fan. And two, I did some research on the whiskey. I was the same. I heard you mention in the beginning that there were some things to be skeptical about, or at least to look with scrutiny, but not to judge a book by its cover, which I appreciate. That's the way I approach life.
I will tell you now, I'm anti-celebrity anything, right?
Yes.
That's me. I'm anti-celebrity anything. Celebrity vodka, celebrity, any celebrity spirit that come out, it's a no for me before I even try it. So when this came out, I was like, okay, there is a group behind this thing, obviously being born in Africa. I didn't hear about Metallica till 2000, I would say 2010-ish, right? When that's where I started listening to more rock and roll. So Guns N' Roses, all that. And I'm like,
right.
Of course, your music kind of, people, they suggest more things. And I'm like, I kind of like this group, kind of cool. I don't know about the outfit, but I can definitely rock with the music, right? So, and listening to that and hearing celebrity thing, and I'm like, but when I was hearing that at the same time, it was almost like a conflicting message. It was like, oh, this is a celebrity thing, but there is strong, there is a strong presence behind it, and I'm like,
there's a whiskey provenance,
correct, right behind it. So it's good to hear that you took both your passions and just married it into one to create a project, right?
Absolutely. And for me, I feel like it's a full circle within a full circle, if that makes sense. It's a dream job within a dream job. And I couldn't be more grateful for it, and getting to approach the way I approach making whiskey is as an art form, and that's what the way musicians approach making music. It's art. They're showcasing their passion through sound, and that is exactly what I have the opportunity here. They understand having the balance and the room to be able to create something. And like, look, we don't know how to make whiskey. You know how to make whiskey, so we're going to let you tell us how you want to make the whiskey, and work together on that. So it's been very refreshing to be able to have that kind of platform and to be able to have that room to be able to create and kind of put that palette to use.
You are very correct. I heard somebody say one time, whiskey is a food product. Whomever make it is like a chef, so you have to respect their art, right? So that's how, that's how I explain it to people when we want to talk about making whiskey being an art. It is like cooking something, right? Obviously, is a grain product. So let's start diving into the whiskey. So what you started 2019, right?
Yes.
Right, 2019.
Yep.
So we're right about 4 years in, and maybe I didn't get it when it came out. But you started with just a bang, or did you just start with a flagship? And that because the first time, like I was mentioning, that I discovered your whiskey is it was the name Blackened, and next thing I knew, a big whiskey name behind it, right? That's what happened. And I'm like, okay, now this is becoming even more gimmicky. How is it that the brain come out and the first thing is Blackened and then will it, right? I'm like, okay, I need to know what's going on here. So can you explain the process? Which expressions do you have out there? And what was your first expression out? Was it a flagship, or was it this Will It collaboration that just came out as the first thing you put out?
So the very first thing to come out was the Blackened flagship. So that's you're absolutely right. That was the first one to come out. That one will have a batch number all the way up at the top of the neck.
Okay.
And that batch number started at 81, which was the year that the band Metallica was formed.
Okay.
So 1981. So that's basically number one. So batch 81 is where it started from. If that's going to be the flagship, you'll see that at 90 proof there. That is what is in every state, all 50 states in the United States, and we've also in Canada and Australia. The Blackened X Willet was an idea. There was something I used to do at Stranahan's called Snowflake. And Snowflake, yeah, that was my baby.
Snowflake is a big deal.
Yeah, no two snowflakes are alike, and that was always the point. Was that every year I wanted to release a different kind of cask finish, and at times marry different cask finishes together, and that's where I got my reputation for blending and cask finishing. Was finding these different flavor profiles and finding that layer and the way that each one of those whiskeys was going to complement itself. And with the Blackened X Willet, that was the very first of our Masters of Whiskey series, which is where every year I will collaborate with another master distiller and we will create our whiskey together. Yeah, exactly. That's the flagship right there that you're showing on the screen.
Yeah.
So with the Masters of Whiskey series, that was purely in the form of collaboration within the community. If you look at the musicians, someone stepping in and playing with another band, or different musicians will collaborate together on a song and either create a song together or sing a song that they already have existing. This was something where we felt we could put our from kind of two different directions come together with our unique, approach.
Yeah.
Yes, our own unique approach and create something special, a limited edition series. And that's what we started with Drew Colesveen, a good friend of mine, to create the very first Masters of Whiskey series.
So the Masters of Whiskey series, I want to understand it. Is it the whiskey that is from that distillery, or is it the cask that is from that distillery?
It could be a number of different things. Every single time it's been different. The second one that we did was with Wes Henderson of Angel's Envy, a good friend of mine. and I'm currently working on the third release with another distiller that I respect deeply, and so it's pretty exciting to be able to work with these guys. And so with Willet, in that case, it was Willet Rye whiskey.
Okay.
But that's not always the case, So
do you still have a bottle?
I do. The Willet.
Shall we try it?
We probably should. I think you can't really talk about whiskey unless you got a little whiskey
without
in you, right?
trying it. So my goal here is I did not open this bottle. I'm glad I'm opening it while I actually am talking to you. So when it came to Willet, you guys used the Willet whiskey. And what was that aged in? Was it aged in Willet cask as well, or something different?
They were, so the whiskey was already it was aged. I think we had some of the youngest stuff in there was 4 year, but we also had upwards of 8.
Okay.
We had some 8-year-old stuff in there as well. So we've got I love that sound. So of course, we did cask strength. Cask strength, non-chill filtered,
109.6 proof.
Yeah, which 109.6, which tells me it probably went in the cask at 110.
Okay.
The new make probably went in at 110. And usually you don't lose proof, you usually gain proof. Which is kind of unusual, but you got there we go. I always do the reverse thing.
Yeah.
And that's that's always the
floral notes.
Yeah.
I'm getting some for me, a good rye give me a little bit of that lavender kick. Like if I get that faint lavender, I know that I'm gonna taste a good rye. I know it sounds weird, but that's my indicator.
Oh yeah, good. Well, see, and that's what I love when I talk to people about trusting their own palate. It's because I'm not here to tell you what you're tasting. It's trusting your palate. And so I love when you have a set indicator, knowing, oh, this is going to be a good rye because you've got notes that you find in ryes that you like.
Nice floral note. I'm getting some black tea. It's herbaceous. A little bit of those yeasty note. Some, like I said, I can close it to some lavender and a little baking spice. Some cinnamon coming through there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Cheers.
Cheers. It's good to see you, Jack.
Mm-hmm.
We did a Madeira cask finish with this.
Really?
So this was rested about 8 weeks in Madeira casks.
This right? What I'm drinking right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was an in-house marriage of a low rye recipe and a high rye recipe. And when Drew and I sat down, this was in March of 2020. So the world had just shut down for COVID, and somehow I still found myself out in Kentucky, happily tasting the wares of the Willett warehouse, and we had
that licorice coming from. That finish is you rarely get it in rye or bourbon. You get it more in single malt because of the type of cask. But this whiskey have that licorice note finish, or a little black tea kind of bitter-ish, but
like anise.
Sweet, anise.
Yeah.
And I grew up in every African sauce. You have that anise that is part of seasoning your meat, and is ginger anise. That's what you get right at the finish.
Yeah. That little bit of a heat kick,
correct,
from the higher proof. But then you also get and I see where you get the kind of that final the final tasting notes, the finish on that. You're getting the anise and the I also get I've spent growing up in Southern Colorado. I spent a lot of time around horses and horse barns and sheds. I almost get like tack shed leather, like that salty, sweaty horse sweat kind of smell, which I find appealing. I personally like, but and like with the hay, the smell of hay in there, it definitely has that. I think the rye comes, has that kind of earthy hay note to it.
That rye just, I mean, it couldn't be any more rye than this.
Right. And I love a high rye. I like getting kicked in the shins with a high rye. I like to, I like the spark of a good high rye.
This is intriguing, because if you're somebody who don't understand cask and you're expecting what I like to call the type of Kentucky rye-ish with that sweet middle and almost that mellow finish, but all the all the spiciness on front, and then you're in for a disappointment here. If you're somebody who is deep into ryes and like to be challenged, this is a taste for you. You can sit on this drink for a minute, because it keeps growing, and it evolves. It almost evolves, because that licorice note now is sweetening with every time I swallow.
Right, and you're breathing the air across it. Yes.
Yeah. So this evolved. I would definitely advise, if you open it, just let it sit for a little bit, let it settle, because I just opened the bottle and just poured it. And for me, it's like, oh, there's so much more in this.
Right.
I want to pull out my water. I want to drip some water in. I want to break it down to kind of see what happened to this as it'll evolve as a spirit.
Yeah.
Oh,
and that's the beauty. That's the beauty of buying and having your own whiskey, is that, we're all adults. We get to enjoy the whiskey the way we want to. So, it's when you look at it and you have that excitement about, adding a little dash of water to it. For me, that is, the exploration is the fun part, the exploration of the palate.
So you released the Willet one, and I think for about a year we haven't heard from you. You're just out, I'm sure, doing PR and telling the word about the whiskey. And all of a sudden I'm sitting one day and I get this email, and they say, I got the email first. I said Wes was retiring, and then after a few months after that, they said Blackened X Wes Henderson. I say, interesting. Wes, if you don't know who Wes Henderson is, for 15 years or 15 or 20 years, his dad is Lincoln Anderson. If you walk into Angel's Envy, you have his picture right there. The mural is there for him. Wes is his son. Angel Envy have always been very family oriented. The first time I met Wes, his two sons were next to him. He was talking to somebody else. They were talking like I wasn't even there. It was family issues. They were just trying to have a whole conversation. And then he turned around and just, follow me, man. You're part of the group. Let's keep moving. And he's really, really, really down. When you see, Wes is the only person I know that ran a whole distillery and was the boss. And I could still see him sitting at the bar, and he would still say hello, how you doing, how things going. Very down to earth, man. Angel Envy is where it is now because Wes Anderson and his family just made it where it is. So when I heard you and him are coming up with a whiskey, I said, I got to try it. I definitely have to try it. So it's you and Wes Anderson that came up with the Blackened X Wes Anderson. Tell me a little bit about how this collaboration came about.
This was a lot of fun. I went out to Kentucky a couple of times. We started talking about what whiskey we had available, what we wanted to use. And it kind of turned out, it kind of putting things together. We decided on a Kentucky bourbon, and the Kentucky bourbon, I've done in the past with single malt whiskey. I've done port cask finishes, but I've never done a white port cask finish. So we had settled on a white port cask finish as the finish, and the Kentucky bourbon was about around 6 years. So that was a really what I feel is like the kind of the sweet spot for whiskey aged in brand new white American oak. I feel like 6 to 8 years is kind of that sweet spot. Getting up into 10 is fun, but after that, you definitely risk getting over oaked. I feel like past 10. I feel like there's some good whiskeys that can pull it off past 10 years old. But we that 6 year and just being able to work with Wes, we were sitting there, and I'm not sure how many people know this about Wes Henderson, but he is also a first responder. He is
he's a coroner, right?
Yeah, he's the county coroner for Louisville.
That is a fun fact about him.
It is. So we were sitting there, and he's got his radio on, and he kept apologizing. He's like, "Look, I'm on call, so I apologize." Like, don't worry, no worries at all. And
he had that radio on when I met him the first time too.
Yep. And I mean, he's a man who's always on call, so he's always on the job. And I told him, I was like, I know what it's like, man. I'm former military. I understand, and so we really connected over some of that. But it was such a treat because we found, and I really enjoy these collaborations because we're all very serious and working hard to release our flagship whiskeys and keep them on the shelf. But then we get to let our hair down a little bit and do these little collaborations and work together, and we're not having to worry about what's going on at the distillery or what's going on in production. We're just making something fun together.
So can you reveal the origin of the whiskey, or
I can't in this particular one. So okay. As far as that was, yeah, I can't. I don't have an origin.
I had to try, bro.
Of course, man. Yeah, why not?
All right. So
never hurts to ask.
This comes in at 116.2.
Yes.
Is a cask strength whiskey. How long did he age in those white port?
Those stayed in there a little bit longer. I think, Wes and I, it's funny. We found that he really has a sweet tooth, and I'm not so much of a sweet tooth person. I do like sweet, but I don't like it overly sweet. So he, we found our spot where we both agreed that it wasn't too sweet. It wasn't not sweet enough. So it was about. It was 9 or 10 weeks. I'm trying to remember exactly where it was between 9 or 10 weeks on the finish.
So, this is Kentucky whiskey?
Yes. Yeah. Kentucky bourbon, straight Kentucky bourbon. And that white port is probably what, it sends in a different direction.
I know. It literally sends it in a completely different direction.
Yes, it does.
I would tell you right now, if I did not know what this was and I had a sip of it, I would have told you this is Tennessee whiskey.
Oh, interesting.
That's the first thing I would have to. I'm like, oh, this is Tennessee whiskey.
Right. Well, it's probably whenever you get a cask finish, that always kind of throws.
Oh yeah.
That throws a hook in there.
But it is delicious. It is. The sweetness is very subtle. It's almost sneaky. It's not immediate sweet. It's a sneaky sweet. It's not sugar. It's honey.
Yeah.
It's not Laffy Taffy. It's a caramel. So it's one of those sweetness that's almost like the sugar was reduced and almost burnt.
Oh, sure.
That's what you get from it.
I would agree with you because, and again, I don't like it super sickly sweet. I like it, and I like that you're picking up that it is it's subtle, but it's the layers are there the way they needed to be. I will tell you, we just found out 2 days ago that we won a double gold with the Blackened X Wes Henderson. We won a double gold at the World Spirits Competition in San Francisco. We were ecstatic about that.
I can tell you, this is a whiskey that a rum drinker, a single malt drinker, and a bourbon drinker can all three agree on.
I agree, and I think that's one of the things I always try and do is find that spot, especially, with Blackened Whiskey, our flagship. That is a marriage, a blend of bourbon and rye. So we're trying to give the best of both worlds. If you really love your rye, we've got rye in there. If you really love your bourbon, we've got bourbon in there. So it's trying to really kind of embrace and find a common ground with the flavor profile, and that's where we did with that. With this was just this is what we wanted to do. We wanted to take a Kentucky bourbon and we wanted to do a cask finish. And originally we were looking at some white port out of Portugal, and it just wasn't going to work out. The timing was still, this was in 2021, so a lot of things were still, a lot of ships were sitting in the harbor with loaded containers for months at a time. And there was no way we wanted to take a risk that our precious white port barrels were going to sit in a container and just cook to death,
Correct,
and go bad in a port somewhere. So I had that problem with a rum cask finish I did. We had a port. Fortunately, nothing happened to it, but it was held up in port because people were transporting drugs in whiskey barrels or rum barrels from the Caribbean. And so every single shipment of cask finished barrels that were coming into port were getting extra scrutinized. So they're like, oh, nope, that goes over here, and just sit it in the pile. And so we had to sweat over that sitting there for over a month. But with this, we were very fortunate. We found some really beautiful white port out of California, and we used those casks for the finishing.
Is wow. So two different master blender or master's edition, and then you come with something different, which is your cask strength.
Yes.
Your cask strength edition. So okay, so the cask strength that you came up with, tell me if you can tell the origin of the whiskey and how you came up with that one. Obviously you have your flagship. What's the ABV on your flagship?
90 proof.
90 proof, right?
Yes.
So regular, I would call it the regular, everyday bourbon.
Yes.
But when it comes to cask strength, I become excited when I hear cask strength, because for me, you are speaking my language,
and I'm right there with you. That's the way I prefer a whiskey. I prefer a non-chill filtered cask strength whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the same whiskey that we use for our flagship. This is that same blend of bourbon and rye. We've got Tennessee bourbon in there. We've got Kentucky bourbon. We've got Indiana bourbon. We've got Indiana rye. So all those
4 different blend.
Yes, yeah. So we've got quite a few different whiskeys in there for our flagship, but then we also have for the cask strength. Now we're doing non-chill filter, and we're using a 5 micron paper filter to get any particulate out, any char or wood particulate. But the beauty of the cask strength is that you're getting whiskey in its purest form.
Correct.
This is the gift that's given directly from the barrel. And you're able to, add a couple of drops of filtered water and let it open up. I mean, I always drink it straight, neat, several sips before I even try and add a dash or two of water, because I like to see. I always love that change.
You're preaching to the choir. The sign behind me said the same thing. The truth is barrel proof. That's the sign behind me, and that's how I like my whiskey.
Yeah,
I love the nose. The nose got me. I love the nose on this cask strength. So when is this cask strength coming on the market?
That should be hitting the shelves any day now.
Okay.
That should be. It is in motion. It's been bottled. It is. We've released that baby into the world.
Okay. So for people that are curious about Blackened, it is coming on the market. And if you want to actually get to know more or read about the expressions, I'm gonna list it now for all of you guys to see. This is the website, and it is blackenedwhiskey.com. That's their website.
You got it.
Beautiful website. And it gives you a chance to go in and and read about the expressions. Obviously, NDAs make it harder to tell you the origin of the whiskeys, but for me, somewhere along the line, I love blind tastings. So when I have to taste a whiskey and I don't know the origin, I get excited because it helped my mind and my palate explore. And
Yes.
that's what I want y'all to do here. Keep an open mind when you're approaching this whiskey and really see what it is about and what came into blending it and giving you you know this quote unquote product. The cask strength, what's the proof on it?
Um, that one I don't know right off the top of my head. I don't actually have a
Okay.
bottle of it because
I have a sample, but it doesn't have a proof on
it
it,
doesn't
so
have the proof on there.
I won't be able to tell you.
Yeah,
But
it's gonna be around 100, like 112, 114 generally. But I've had all the way up to 118. But let me take a look.
let me see. Maybe I can find. I'm trying to look into the PR. I'm trying to look in the PR email and see if it's there. But
I think. Yeah, I think we're at like 120 actually, 121.
120. Okay, 120. 120 is good.
Yeah,
120 is good.
yeah, 121.87 on this last sample.
All right. Let me taste this.
I'm usually pretty organized with my samples as they come in. And then I shuffle them out, and then I store them away. But I'm working on another project that's taking up some space here. So,
I have a feeling I know how you like your finish. You have a signature.
yeah, for
You
me,
have a signature. That's the only way I can say it. Like that's your signature. It's like an artist finished painting and they have their signature at the end. Because
yes,
every whiskey that I've tasted at Castring, beside the Wes Anderson one, the first one and this one have kind of a signature finish. Like it's almost like that end finish is similar. I'm like, I know that. I know. It's almost like now I can recognize it in things.
yeah,
It's the Rob signature.
yeah, I love that. It is a. I always approach it. I grew up in, I grew up in community theater when I was younger, and I always look at like a 3-act play. You want to approach in, you want to draw yourself into the story, and then you want to bring it up to a middle point, and then you want a nice long finish that leaves you wanting to go back and starting at the beginning again. And that's the way I always approach it is, and then layering in between those flavors that balance and really support each other. The finish is always important to me because even with cask finishing, you can cask finishing if you're using a wine barrel that is very dry wine, it could just suck the moisture out of your mouth. You could have just a dry finish that just evaporates. And I don't like those kind of finishes myself. I like a finish that lets you know that just keeps on rolling out and it's like a tumbleweed heading off into the sunset. I just want to see it keep
And you
going.
like a little bit of that spice to be there, the anise to be there,
Yeah.
kind of finish with a bang almost at the end. And for me, it is like something to explore, right? Always. I'm like, okay, now I need to go deeper and see what's going on into this
Right.
flavor. Like when we are done with this interview, like I have all my samples sitting here. I have my wild water there, and I'll be dripping some water in and let it open up and revisit them again. This is not a one time have it at the bar and just go, oh, I made my mind. This is
Right.
a sit down, try it, take your time, really visit it to be able to enjoy the aspect of it. Let it get some air, let it open up to you, and you can enjoy. That's the type of whiskey that you're making right now. And
And
I
that's what
honestly,
I believe in. That's what I believe in. And it's fun. I mean, there's nothing like, I can only imagine the way an artist looks at a blank canvas and they've already got an idea in their mind, and then they just start going. I will start with a blend with something in mind. So I'll already have an idea in mind, and then it's a matter of trying to get to that point. And sometimes I'll go past it.
I hear you. So, what should the people look forward to now that we have this castrant is just going to be released? So we have the castrant that you are releasing now. So this shows really the origin, kind of the origin story of your whiskey. Tells people exactly what is it that you have into your flagship, and they get to taste it the way they want to.
Right.
What should the people be looking forward to as a consumer, as somebody who like Blackened or whatnot? What should they be looking forward to?
Well, I know our flagship whiskey is something that we're really proud of. The again, balancing that bourbon and rye is critical to me. What I'm always looking for is what's the next thing that I'm inspired by? What next expression can we come out with? Not only do we have the Masters of Whiskey series that will always be something fun to work with someone else. I've got some other ideas in mind for limited expressions, possibly extensions of our brand. So all these things are all floating around and all kind of working towards keeping the art form alive. I've got some things I've been holding on to for a few years that I'm ready to release to the wild. So we'll see what's going to happen here.
Absolutely. So our last thing before we let you go, I know you have to get to somewhere. Last thing before I let you go, you cannot come on Monday Sucks without giving us an advice that does not suck. One thing, that a motto that you live by, something you heard from a guru, something you write on a card for people, something that you hang on to kind of remind you of, keep you grounded, give you direction, or just something fun that a parent or somebody used to say.
I have two things that came to mind at the same time. The first thing is a practice that I do. I don't know if anybody out there is familiar with Wim Hof, but Wim Hof is this madman who he calls it the cold is his teacher, and you do breathing and breath holding meditation, and you hold your breath out. And I've gotten all the way up to 3 minutes. That's about as high as I've gotten, but it's a good place for calming and breathing. So I do that every morning. That's it's kind of an advice. But something that really struck to me, I was at a live show with Metallica, and I've become good friends with the lead singer, James Hetfield. We made a cigar together. And something he said after a song that really kind of struck me, and I think everybody has this experience somewhere. He said, "Forgive yourself." It was just that easy. 2 words: forgive yourself. And you never realize what you might hold on to from any part of your life, any aspect of your life. And I thought that was pretty poignant. I even told him that later when I saw him, that I said that was really, really poignant. That because
you are speaking to me, brother.
Yeah.
Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. So advice that does not suck today for all of you guys that woke up this Monday and just had a hard Monday. Just you heard it from the man here. Rob told you, and he heard it from someone else. Forgive yourself.
Yeah. And it's amazing how those 2 little words can actually make you sit and think and contemplate.
That hit home for myself.
Yeah.
That hit home for myself. Forgive yourself. That hit home. That hit home. Nice. That hit home. I will cherish that one.
Yeah, we all walk our path, and that's some simple advice
that you, brother, you spoken to me, because yes, after the last few months that I've had, yes, forgive yourself is strong. So if you are just now hearing it, whatever you're going through right now in your life, beside having a dram of whiskey, forgive yourself. Maybe things will get better.
Yes.
Rob, thank you so much for coming on a show. I appreciate you taking your time. Remember, this is now your home. You can come here anytime or something come on the market. You don't even need permission. Just tell me, hey, I want to tell the folks about it, and people can hear about it. This will be on Facebook, will be on Twitter, will be on YouTube. And anytime if you want to share this with anybody, it'll be available there for you to share. Thanks for coming. I hope to shake your hand soon when I come to Denver and hang out and get to know you in person.
Well, Jack, it's such a treat and a pleasure to be able to talk with you. When you come to Denver, make sure you reach out ahead of time because we got some whiskey here to
Oh
try.
yeah, oh yeah.
This is my
I'm
kitchen.
coming to Denver with just me, myself, and I because I'm gonna rock with Rob.
You got it,
That's the
brother.
plan.
I love it. I love it. I
Rob,
look forward to that.
thank you so much. I will let you get back to your engagement, and if you ever need anything, please reach out. And if you ever want to talk about your whiskey, you're welcome to come here anytime.
It's such a treat. It's a pleasure. Thank you, Jack.
Thank
It's
you,
been great
thank you
talking
so
with you, man.
much. Thank you. There you have it, folks. Rob talking to us about Blackened Whiskey, giving us great advice, obviously about I call them life advice, but yeah, um, forgive yourself if that's what he said, and that resonate with me. And I just want to make sure you guys know that yes, that's an advice that does not suck. But we are doing the show backward right now, so let's get on to the next step, which is whiskey news. Let's talk about whiskey news. Uh, let's get to the news of whiskey, things that are coming up, things that you need to know about. I will be talking to you about. Let's go quickly through that. Whiskey news. On whiskey news, we have a lot of whiskeys that are coming out on the market and that I wanted you to know about. First one, Michter's. Michter's just released their 10-year rye. They haven't done it in a couple years. I think they skip every other year based on production, based on quality and what they check. But Michter's have their whiskey, their 10-year 2023 available now on the market. If you find it, grab it. So that is one thing that's coming on the market. If you're a Michter's lover, this is your opportunity to grab their 10-year whiskey, their 10-year rye. The bourbon already came at the beginning of the year, but now we have the rye that came. So 2023 is shipping up for Michter's as far as their release. Next, we got Jack Daniel. Jack Daniel and McLaren Formula One are coming together to create a whiskey or a new design just for the Formula One racing this year. So if you're a Formula One fan, this is your opportunity to grab a Jack Daniel bottle. That's really different. It's still the same mash bill, the same whiskey, but now this is the Formula One design. It's a very limited edition. You know what that means? Chances are that means that you cannot afford it. So, but no, I think the price is not going to change. But if you go to, excuse me, if you go to any Formula One racing, you have a lot of chances to grab this all around the world where there is any Formula One. This is your opportunity to grab that. Now let's come to the whiskey that I've been waiting for since the beginning of the year. Ardbeg. Ardbeg committee release just came out. The new committee release is called Ardbeg Heavy Vapors, right? Ardbeg Heavy Vapors. So this is if you know anything about Ardbeg, every time there is the Festival of Isla or Fish, they will release a committee edition and a non-committee edition. The committee edition usually looks have a higher proof, usually cast strength, chose by the committee, Ardbeg committee, and then the non-committee edition is for everybody on the market. So is this one here is in the dark, and this one here that is white. So if you get a chance to grab one, grab one. It is already available on the US market. And if you're an Ardbeg fan, grab this one because this is going to be ready for Ardbeg Day. Here's another one, Bushmill. Bushmill, at the beginning of March, released a 30-year and a 25-year Bushmill. If you're a fan of Irish whiskey, I'm telling you right now, the 25-year, I believe, is about 7.99 MSRP, and the 30-year, I believe, is 2,100. This is a work of art. Bushmill have had some barrels that they've been keeping for a long time, and with the revolution happening in Irish whiskey, if you don't know a lot about Irish whiskey, go back into my YouTube channel. I've had a 30 days of Irish whiskey there where I've reviewed a bunch of Irish whiskey. It will give you a chance to review all the Irish whiskey there. But Bushmill is coming out with some bangers. It's no longer, I think Bushmill is no longer want to be your grandfather's whiskey. They really want to come up with that avant-garde whiskey. So, be on the lookout for that one. Today, actually, news from Buffalo Trace. News from Buffalo Trace here. Buffalo Trace just released their experimental bottle. So, one thing that happened at Buffalo Trace is any of their master distillers will try their best to have some experiment that they're working on. This one for this year is their peated malt. So, in a mash bill of a bourbon usually is 51% corn, a certain percentage of rye, a certain percentage of malt. So the percentage of malt that was used in this blend actually is a peated malt. So just you see this usually in Scotch, but they decided to experiment that with bourbon. I have some experimental bottle myself behind me somewhere here. That are every year they come, or every 2 years or so, they come up with something different. These are limited to distillery and selective market only. But if you get a chance, and if you see one, and if you want to be curious, there you have it. Buffalo Trace is from Buffalo Trace Distillery. So now I'm about to give you some news that you'll hear only about tomorrow. So it is good to be on the show because you get to actually know it before anybody. So before it comes on my Instagram, if you were in the market, there is American Mash and Grain came out with what they call borrowed pages, and borrowed pages was volume one, and effective tomorrow morning. Volume two is going to be available. So, borrowed pages is a blend of whiskey that was created based on taking whiskeys from different distillery, blending them together to make one whiskey. Again, borrowed pages. That's what they're calling it. So in this, I believe every volume of it is going to be different distilleries. And this volume two has Town Noir Distillery from Colorado, Virginia Distillery from Virginia, Mammoth Distillery from Michigan, are the three distilleries that actually came together to create this blend. So I want you to pay attention because this is going to be very interesting. I will give you a full review of it. I just got my bottle this weekend, and if you follow the Truth is Barrel Proof, you get to see it there. But yeah, borrowed pages is going to have a volume two, and for the first time, they're going to have it in 750. They're going to have it in 375. So they have in two different sizes for people that were maybe apprehensive and really don't want to try something different, but they just want to buy something small to maybe try it and see how it is. This is your opportunity. You get to have it. Again, borrow pages, um, volume two, available tomorrow on the American Mash and Crane for you to get. So those were the whiskey news right now. Yeah. So let's go into what are we drinking. What are we drinking? And what are we drinking? I get to tell you guys what exactly is it that I've been drinking lately, and I hope it can guide you into finding something that you can drink. So, what are we drinking lately? What have I been drinking? Lately, I've actually have just gotten off a kick of Irish whiskey, but good news is new content coming on Instagram and YouTube For the next 30 days, I'm drinking agave spirit, tequila, mezcal, any agave spirit out there. It's going to be 30 days of agave. So if you're a tequila lover, or you are just like me, where you like tequila, but you never found really your niche in tequila, I, I'm as a spirit consultant have always been, I would say I can talk about any spirit, but tequila have been those spirit that I cannot taste tequila and tell you this is good tequila, right? I know how I feel, but I never dive into it. So this is my opportunity to taste through a bunch of tequila, a bunch of mezcal. I'm gonna do some giveaways. Some brands send me some hats, some t-shirt to give away, and we'll discover those brands again, and maybe we get a chance to actually you get a chance to find something new on a shelf that you would like. So wanted to put that out there for you guys, so you know that that's what I will be drinking is a bunch of tequila. And Cinco de Mayo is coming soon, so why not some tequila, to get me there. So we get to discover tequila together. Right. Last but not least, um, what my favorite part, uh, my favorite part of the show, where I put something on Twitter and hope to hear what people have to say about it. Um, so very interesting. I'm very 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 always interested what Twitter thinks. Uh, what do you call it? And it's very interesting that on Twitter is either is a hit or miss, right? People can get very mean or very nice on Twitter. So uh, I always have to be careful when I posting on Twitter because, good God, sometime is it can be something. That's the best way to put it. It can be something. So uh, let me see. What did I put on Twitter that we are getting out here soon? Oh, I was talking about the controversy of spirits. Um, but something interesting that was tweeted that actually got me thinking is, do you care who drink whiskey, right? Do you care who drink your whiskey or who drink your spirit? And I was reading to the tweet, and the craziest thing is, because of all the controversy around LGBTQs or spirits, or industry going in to talk, who is drinking their whiskey or who is drinking what spirit they're putting out. Do you even care? Right. I'm gonna close by telling you, whiskey is for everybody. Right. Whiskey is for everybody. When I say everybody, I mean everybody. White, black, Asian, gay, straight, transgender. I don't care who you are. Whiskey is for everybody. So if you think you're gonna stop drinking a whiskey because they're supporting a cause, or they're supporting a certain race, or they're supporting a certain sexuality, or any minority, or any part of society that is being mistreated in some way, shape, or form, or not being noticed, or bringing awareness to a certain area of our life, you're wrong. You cannot say you love whiskey or you love a spirit and say that spirit can only be made for a certain sex, a certain gender, a certain race, a certain origin. That's not right. Whiskey is for everybody, and I mean everybody. And if you're not in that mindset, walk away from my show. This show is not for you. Obviously, I'm an African man with an accent telling you about spirit, interviewing people, and teaching you about spirit. So when I say it's for everybody, I mean it's for everybody. That's my closing note tonight, to let you guys know that I truly believe in my heart that whiskey or spirits are for everybody, every single person. And be aware of brands that say, oh, when we were making whiskey, we were thinking about women. No, no, that's not it. Or when we were making this whiskey, we were thinking about this. No, you made it for everybody, right? And however it end up, whomever drink it, you're just happy that they're actually enjoying your spirit. On that note, this was Monday Suck. I hope to see you next Monday with new guests on. My goal is to be able to do 2 to 3 shows a month. So if you have any brand suggestion, if you have any whiskey suggestion, if you have any suggestion, you can either put in a comment or you can actually reach me on Instagram to let me know any brand that you would like to see interview here or talk about. We'll talk about it. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the week, and I will see you next Monday. Cheers.